Nathan, sit in that one. Okay, fabulous. Is she about? Is she about ready? So, welcome. My name again is Marlena Jones, and I'm the head of the DC STEM Network. Happy that you were able to stay around for our keynote speaker. Maya Ajmera is the CEO and president of Oh gosh, I knew I was going to mess up. Let's try this again. Society for Science in the Public, and she's the publisher of Science News. It's based in Washington, D.C. The Society is a champion for science, dedicated to expanding scientific literacy and effective STEM education and scientific research. You may know the Society better for the International Science and Engineering Fair, and several DC students have participated in that. Prior to leading the Society, she served as the inaugural social entrepreneur in residence for Duke University, visiting professor for the practice of public policy at the Sanford School of Public Policy at Duke, and was a visiting scholar and professorial lecturer at the Paul H. Nietzsche School of Advanced International Studies at the Johns Hopkins University. She also founded the Global Fund for Children, which she led for 18 years. They do incredible work. She is an award-winning children's book author and is an alumni of the 1985 Science Talent Search, one of the Society's education competitions for high school students. Please join me in welcoming Maya and thanking her for taking time out of her busy day.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Marlena. I'm incredibly honored to be here today to speak before all of you, the DC STEM community. It's, I think, incredibly important that we are able to come together as a community to not only celebrate science, technology, engineering, and math, but also ask ourselves tough questions about how we can expand access to STEM throughout the Washington, D.C. region. Because, quite frankly, we need more science fair junkies in our world. Our world is facing insurmountable challenges, and who else but our STEM students are positioned to uncover solutions to those problems? Whether it's climate change, pandemic disease, or searching for alternative energy sources, these students are our best chance for a better tomorrow. I know because I was once one of them. I consider myself, quite proudly, a science fair junkie. I'm sure I'm not the only person in this room that considers themselves that. I loved and still love the thrill of discovery. The challenges involved in running an experiment and sharing something new and exciting with the world. More students need to have a chance to feel that rush. We at the Society for Science in the Public seek to foster that thrill. From our award-winning journalism in Science News to our world-class science competitions, we seek to inform, educate, and inspire. You know, at 13, I fell in love with science while studying the life cycle of duckweed in a botany lab at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. I'm sure some students my age were asking their parents for rides to the mall or a sleepover. I was doing that, but most importantly, I was also asking my parents for a ride to the lab so I could collect data on the growth of duckweeds over 12-hour periods. This was my first step toward becoming, as they say, the science fair junkie, with my research project entitled The Growth of Duckweeds with special reference to light, nitrogen, and kineton. This led me to compete in multiple science fairs and attend the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. Participating in science fairs helped me learn 3 things that I think are critical for today's students. First, the importance of scientific inquiry. The simple process of just asking a question, the initial step in scientific inquiry, is critical. It helped build the foundation for what I do today, and at each phase of my life, I've sought to ask tough questions about the world around me. When we require our students to ask questions about the world around them, we are forcing them to take a closer look at the world they live in and at times challenge what they know to be true. Going back to my duckweed example, for a long time we knew that duckweed was a nuisance. Now we know it has the potential as both food and a biofuel. What new truths will come tomorrow thanks to today's student scientists? Of course, constructing a hypothesis, creating an experience, and analyzing data are all parts of the scientific method, are also lessons that have served me far beyond my career in STEM. Second, doing a research project, participating in science fairs helped me learn how to deal with failure, or simply things that just didn't work. It was Thomas Edison who famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Going back to my duckweed experience, one experiment I ran required the duckweed with various amounts of kinetin, a growth hormone, to be sustained with sustained light for 12 hours, followed by 12 hours of darkness. One thing I didn't consider was the wattage of the light bulbs needed to be consistent. Well, it did. The light bulbs needed to be consistent for, the data. And then the other piece of it was to have inconsistent, to have light bulbs of different wattages, and you'd get different forms of data. I learned a powerful lesson about continuing to move forward even when things didn't work or go as planned. And I had to remember, I still do, that I was only 13 years old. And third, likely most importantly, my science research project taught me about integrity. Integrity in the collection of data, integrity in reporting results, integrity in competing. In the old days, we had these thick notebooks where we would handwrite our data results. I remember I couldn't just count the growth of the duckweeds once. I needed to count it 5 times. And if the 4th time turned out different, I had to start all over again. The integrity of my data was paramount and was connected to the integrity of the experiment itself. Each of these 3 lessons I still carry with me today. So when I was 25 years old, I received a fellowship after college that allowed me to travel throughout South and Southeast Asia. And when I was in India, I came upon children learning from a teacher on a crowded train platform. They were poor and destitute, and they didn't have time to go to school. So this teacher had taken it upon herself to create a school for them. I asked a simple question: why weren't there more train platform schools all over India? It might not have been a question that led to a traditional line of scientific inquiry, but it did lead me down a path towards a different type of discovery. This important question led me to create the Global Fund for Children, a nonprofit organization that invests in innovative community-based organizations working with some of the world's most vulnerable children and youth. And under my 18 years of leadership, GFC grew from a vision to one of the largest networks of grassroots organizations working on behalf of vulnerable children. And to date, that organization is now awarded nearly $40 million to more than 700 grassroots organizations in 80 countries. I came then from the Global Fund for Children to the Society for Science and the Public. And I was armed, right, with this incredible childhood, teenage, college experience in STEM, and then leading the Global Fund for Children. And I brought that spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship to the society with an incredible dedication to underserved students. At the Society, we've developed new programming aimed to expand the access of STEM here in the Washington, D.C. area and around the country. As part of our outreach and equity work earlier this summer, the Society gave $100,000 in grants to 23 science teachers across the country, including $5,000 to Sherry Richardson at McKinley Technology High School in Washington, D.C. Sherry plans on using her funding for laptops and lab supplies, for simple things like gloves and lab coats, as well as transportation to research facilities. We were thrilled to have Tanika Jackson, a teacher from Eastern Senior High School in DC, participate in the Society's Research Teacher Conference, which provides an opportunity for teachers to connect, share best practices, and troubleshoot challenges that may arise in supporting students in independent science research. And lastly, Science News in High Schools, which I must admit is a program near and dear to my heart, has outreach into 11 high schools in Washington, D.C., including Calvin Coolidge Senior High, the Phelps Architecture, Construction, and Engineering High School, and the E.L. Hayes Public Charter School. This amazing program enables students to access cutting-edge science news, which is essentially important in this time of accelerated discovery, where textbooks become outdated as soon as they are printed. I know I've talked a lot about how our programming has benefited teachers and their classrooms, but I don't want to forget about the most important part of the equation, the students. Of course, everything we do to help teachers translates into expanding access to students. But beyond this programming, we are thrilled to have an affiliated science fair here in Washington, D.C., that this past year sent 3 students to the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair, the biggest science fair in the world, considered the Olympics of science for young people. Isabel Herberger, Samuel Lossoff, and Hannah Doktir Loeb all are attendees from the School Without Walls, and we couldn't be prouder of them. While I'm exceptionally proud of the work that the Society's doing here in the DC area and across the country, there's much more work that needs to be done, particularly here in Washington, D.C. And I know that the Society can be doing much more to help engage students in STEM here in our own backyard. So to close, I ask all of you, how can we do more in DC? How can the Society for Science and the Public engage even further with the DC public school system? We need your help because, we have resources. And if we can't help students in our own backyard, then I think I will think back and say we failed. And so I think we want to do more, and I'm just so thrilled that my colleagues, my team, are here today to learn from all of you. STEM skills and participation in scientific research and ultimately science fair or competitions can open an unbelievable amount of doors to today's students. It's up to us, the people in this room, to help foster that love of science and help open the doors to access. So let me end by making a plug. Tomorrow is Give to Science Day. This is a national online campaign we founded at the Society for Science and the Public. Our hope is that one day is just as powerful as Giving Tuesday or Black Monday, I think it's called. So please, Cyber Monday, sorry. So please spread the word, tweet it, Facebook it, and tell us why you give to science. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Okay, so thank you very much. So for something different this year, we decided instead of having those in the audience ask questions, we wanted to go and make it a little bit more authentic and have a student come up and ask questions. So the person who's going to come up today is Samantha O'Sullivan. She's a senior at School Without Walls and an incredible person. She loves STEM, and her favorite subjects are mathematics and physics. She's taken several college-level courses, her favorite of which are linear algebra and multivariable calculus. Yes, I did say that. She's presently a research assistant at George Washington University in the astrophysics department, and she assists with studying radio images of pulsars and creating 3D models of pulsar velocity. She's also senior class president and co-captain of the School Without Walls Science Bowl team. Outside of school, because she's not doing anything else, obviously, she volunteers at the National Air and Space Museum as an explainer. This year, she founded a club entitled STEM Up at Stewart Hobson Public Middle School, and the purpose of which is to engage more African Americans and middle school students, and girls especially, in STEM. And, oh, I didn't say, but she is also a member of the varsity softball team. So join me in welcoming Samantha, Sam for short.
So in my experience, I have a lot of friends who will shy away from STEM, so science and math, because they just don't see themselves as quote unquote science people. So what would you tell them? Do you think that everyone should learn STEM?
Absolutely. And I think one of the greatest thing about STEM learning that we don't do enough is project-based learning, is really experiential learning, that learning science out of a textbook, constantly may not inspire a lot of kids. I think we also know that kids get inspired to learn about STEM and do STEM if they're being able to solve a problem that's affected them or affected their community. We see that time and time and again with the kids that compete in our competitions. Their backstory is quite interesting. Their family member died of a particular form of cancer, or the water in Flint, Michigan, so tainted that it inspired a student to go out and do research in that area. So I think it's got to feel close to home, and it's got to be experiential for a good number of students.
So in terms of addressing the issue of underrepresentation and getting STEM, what role do you think that schools should play in increasing STEM education? And then additionally, what role should other community partners such as outside of school programs, universities, and museums play in this?
So I am a big fan of non-formal education. So I think museums, universities, nonprofit organizations do an extraordinary job of working with students to provide that creative outlet to do STEM learning, whether it's the Children's Museum or whether it's a research university and has a program for students to come and do research in different labs. I also very strongly believe that our schools need to get more resources to be able to support teachers as well as to support their discovery, their professional development, but also to provide the sort of resources they need to create a lab in their high school, and to get the most recent content and resources they need. And they have to be 21st century technologically able to run. There's no question about it.
So what advice would you have for kids, teenagers, and even adults who are interested in learning more about STEM but might not have the resources to do so?
So one thing I think that's just in our back door here, just in our backyard, is the Smithsonian, right? It's the most extraordinary museums on the planet. And what better way to inspire the next generation of young people? And I'm talking about young people. I'm the mom of a 4.5-year-old. And, Talia, our daughter considers the Smithsonian her playground. I want every kid, in DC to think of the Smithsonian as their playground, as a place to really go and discover and to learn. I also think that we as caregivers and as parents need to really be able to inspire young people that don't hold them back, that discovery is absolutely critical to growth, and to provide those experiences. And again, I think our nonprofit organizations and our museums and our research universities really provide that sort of outlet, as well as our public school system.
So another question is, sometimes science can seem abstract or unrelated to our everyday lives. So why do you think that the average person should care about STEM education, or how does science impact all of us?
Well, we should certainly care about STEM education because I think that's where a lot of the jobs are going to be for the future. And I think if we are going to continue to be competitive globally, then I think we're going to have to be able to provide those opportunities to young people to pursue STEM education. It does seem abstract, I think teachers are the key to making it less abstract, to making science fun. I mean, when I think back to my days of science, there's one particular science teacher that I will never forget. His name, sixth grade. I went to a poor public school in Greenville, North Carolina. It was Elmhurst Elementary School. But his name was Mr. Rick Wilkerson. He was my sixth grade science teacher, or sixth grade teacher. He taught us everything. But we did science experiments at sixth grade. And one of the things he had was a chicken incubator where we would have chicken eggs and it would grow, the chicken eggs would grow over time. And we, as a team of students, would open up a chicken egg every 3 days to see the growth of a chicken embryo. It was unbelievable. And Mr. Wilkerson actually would go and beg East Carolina University for, the Petri dishes, how to open the egg with the tweezers, getting sterile gloves, and he did it. And he inspired, there was a group of us in that class that I think he really inspired because several of them went on to become engineers and scientists in that class. And that's pretty cool over time. So I just really, I'm in awe of teachers and what they can do to inspire the next generation of STEM leadership in this country, but they need the resources.
So you talked a little bit about teachers. How can we bridge the knowledge gap between more informed scientists who might have done a lot of research and the public?
So I think scientists need to do a better job in communicating what they're doing and how it relates to solving the world's most intractable problems. And I think AAAS is doing a great job in working with scientists in communicating science. I think scientists also have a responsibility of going into classrooms and talking to students. We have an incredible alum, Erica Ebel-Engel, who runs a national organization called Science for Scientists. Is that right? And what she does is that scientists go into classrooms to talk about the work they do in their laboratory and making it real for students. I think scientists need to do more. They have sort of a stereotype, and I'm the daughter of one, stuck in a lab, not really communicating, only to a small group of people. I think our social media has really changed that piece to really get the word out there of what are the most incredible things that scientists are doing.
Great. So my final question is, what would your message be for kids and teenagers who are considering pursuing STEM but are sort of on the fence?
Well, I would say, again, if they're on the fence, I think project-based learning, experiential learning opportunities are absolutely critical. I think getting kids into being able to do a science research project really opens up inquiry in a way that you just don't get by sitting in a classroom. And so the more opportunities we can give to young people who may be interested in that, I think is absolutely critical. I think we have to do more for girls in STEM. We see a lot of girls dropping out of STEM learning and careers, as well as of kids of color. And we really need to focus on making sure we have great mentors that work with students to make sure that they're motivated and have the resources they need to continue to learn.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Want to thank both of you so much one more time. Can we give them one more round of applause? And actually, all right, I'm going to do this. Sorry, I'm going to pull something out of our goodie bag. I want to thank you both so much. We have a very important thing left to do for those who are still here. We have to draw for our bingo prizes. You all know this. All right, so Sam, we've got a very important job. That's right. I think you can figure this out, but I'd like you to draw at least one. They do have to be here, so. Okay. Now if we can, Rosaline? All right. And as Rosaline is coming down to get her prize, we're going to do another one. And we've got Sarah Barber. Fantastic. And they're still here. I love it. Come on up, yeah. And we've got one more. And Lisa, oh goodness, Winninger? Yes, come on up. Thank you, Sarah. All right, thank you, everyone. I will say I heard the best thing. I'm not going to point noses, but that the best prize, and now I feel terrible, but I heard that the best prize was actually getting to know all the people at the summit, which was, I thought, amazing, and I did not pay them to say that, so that was pretty amazing. I really hope that this gave you an opportunity to get to know some of our amazing partners. I want to reiterate that we have a new partnership agreement, and really the partnership agreement is just meant to showcase all of the different STEM activities that are happening. On our website, we will have a description or a one-sentence description from each partner who chooses to submit one about the work that they are doing around STEM for the year. So, for example, CASE will commit X number of hours of student internships, X number of hours of student STEM programs, and X hours of professional development. As a sample, if you can modify yours and maybe put numbers in instead of X's, but that's up to you. And then we'll display that. And so we're excited to have our cascading wall of logos on our website to really showcase all of the different work that our partners are doing, because it really is quite incredible. We've talked a lot about having silos, and I feel like over the last 3 years, we've really changed over from silos to creating these webs and creating these networks and creating these ecosystems. And it's really, really, really great to see all of you folks coming together. And I love that it took so much energy to get people out of their breakout sessions because they were so excited to talk to each other. That is the best thing. So I want to thank you all so much one more time. If you enjoyed your... Yes, can I do one more thing? Before we come out the door, we've got in your folders, you have the most important next piece of information for me, which is your survey. Before we talk about something very exciting that they're going to bring up. Your survey, please fill it out. Please turn it into the registration desk. We will also follow up with an electronic survey if you misplaced yours or just feel like sending more information our way. We will send out follow-up information about becoming a partner and start some new mailing lists soon. So I'm going to invite Gail up here to talk about a new initiative.
Follow up on what Maya mentioned, we have a social media initiative called Give to Science Day, which is tomorrow. So I do have some signs and would love it if folks, if you have a moment, could stop and grab one for me and write why you give to science or how you give to science, or you came to the DC STEM Summit. Take it home with you, and if you are on social media, use hashtag. Or we have our social media specialist here, so definitely appreciate everybody's help with this. We really are hopeful that we can, get a lot of people excited about science through this initiative. Thank you for the platform.
Thank you. Annual